it's Betsy, and today we have, well, it's not really a fun video, but I think it's important. We're gonna go over brands behaving badly and your rights as a consumer. And what I mean by brands behaving badly, this isn't to bash any brands, not to say there aren't bad brands, but most try to follow the rules, but a lot of people don't know what the rule actually is. So that's kind of what I'm going to explain, but then I'm also going to tell you some ways as a consumer to protect yourself, because I think that it is extremely important. So I have the FTC's website pulled up. I am going to read the rule directly off that. I will link it down below because I think that this is important enough where I don't want to paraphrase. Once I read it all, I will kind of go over what it means. So, the internet is the fastest growing source of mail order sales. It is estimated that consumers spent $200 billion on the internet, on internet-based goods and services in 2008. That was a long time ago. The explosive growth in goods and services sold online has in the past taken many online sellers by surprise. Demand has outpaced supply, depleting inventories and disappointing customers. The Federal Trade Commission is advising online merchants to review their obligation under the mail or telephone order merchandise rule to better serve their customers. Now, again, these are obligations from the brand. But as a consumer, it is important for you to know these rules as well, because if they're not compliant, you need to know. That's why we're doing this. The rules spell out the ground rules for making promises about shipments, notifying consumers about unexpected delays, and refunding consumers money. It is enforced by the FTC. The mail or telephone order rule applies to orders placed by phone, fax, or the internet. Your compliance can have the bottom line benefits to your company. That is, satisfied customers are return customers. So the next section is complying with the rule. By law, you must have a reasonable basis for stating that a product can be shipped within a certain time. If your advertising doesn't clearly and prominently state the shipment period, you must have a reasonable basis for believing that you can ship within 30 days. So what that means is, so you go to order something. If it doesn't have a date when it's going to ship by, they have to ship, or you have to ship within 30 days. Or you have to ship by your ship by date. So as a brand, I would definitely recommend that you have all of your information clear before someone orders, so it is all stated where it is very visible and easy to understand. But again, if it's not like a pre-order basis, you have to ship within 30 days. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, unless you talk to your customer. Now, if you can't ship within the promised time or within the 30 days, if you make no promises, you must notify the customer of the delay, providing a revised shipment date, and explain his right to cancel and get a full and prompt refund. Okay, so what that means is, so say for some reason you can't ship within the 30 days or you can't ship by the pre-order date. You need to inform your customers in writing by email and state that they can cancel, because that's one thing that I've definitely seen is brands being like, oh, well, it's a pre-order, well, we've had some issues, we can't ship it by this date, but we're not giving you your money back. They have to, if you don't agree to the new shipment date, they are supposed to refund you. And when they're supposed to refund you, they're supposed to refund you promptly. Not 6 months later, but promptly. For definite delays of up to 30 days, you may treat the customer's silence as agreeing to the delay. So what that means is if you email the customer and they don't respond back, the brand assumes that you're okay with it, just to let you know. But for longer or indefinite delays, the second and subsequent delays, you must get the consumer's written electronic or verbal consent to the delay. So if you can't ship it within, like, you couldn't reach the 30-day mark. So you're like, oh, well, I can do it in 45 days. Well, I can't reach the 45 days. You have to, as a business owner, email the customer, and you need to get a response. If you don't get a response that way, you need to do it in writing. And if you don't get a response that way, you have to do it by phone. You are responsible for getting in touch with your customer. FYI, most brands are like, oh, well, they didn't say anything, so we're good. No, that's not how it works. But if you cannot get in touch, if the customer doesn't give you his okay, you must promptly refund all the money the customer paid without being asked by the customer. So if you can't get in touch with your customer and they haven't agreed to it, you have to refund them. So as a customer, you should get a refund if it's not coming in the right amount of time. Okay. Finally, you have the right to cancel orders that you can't fulfill in a timely manner, but you must promptly notify the consumer of your decision and make a prompt refund. So for some reason, your supplies didn't come in, you can't fulfill it, you have to notify your customer and you have to give your customer a refund promptly. But a customer shouldn't have to come to you and be like, well, where's my order? Well, the supplies didn't come in. No, your job as a business is to be the first point of contact. You should be informing your customers. Your customers shouldn't have to be begging for answers from you. Finally, I reread that part. Running late or overwhelmed with orders. The rule gives you several ways to deal with unexpected demand. You can change your shipment promises up to the point the consumer places the order. So you have your website up and you have the date set, you're going to ship it by 9/15. Well, you've started getting orders and you feel overwhelmed. So you can go ahead and change the date on your website to October the 15th. As long as it's before the order is placed. But you cannot change it on a customer after the order is placed, because I've seen that happen, and that's not okay. If you reasonably believe that you can ship by the new date, the updated information overrides the previous promises and reduces the need to send delay notices. So again, as a brand, if you notice that you cannot fulfill, you need to change it before you get too many orders. If not, you're resetting your own timeline. But be sure to tell your customers of the new shipment date before you take the order. So again, you need to make sure it is very clear what the date is so that way they know. Plus, you must provide a delay option notice if you can't ship within the originally promised time. The rule lets you use a variety of ways to provide the notice, including email, fax, or phone. It is a good idea to keep a record of what notices you sent, when you provided it, and the customer's response. Now, for more information, you can contact the FTC's Consumer Response Center for complete business guide to mail or telephone order merchandise rules, advertising, marketing, and the internet. So, as I said, I will leave this linked in the description. So, as a consumer, here's a couple of things. You shouldn't have to hunt down your orders. Things you should, like when you place an order, you should get an order confirmation. If you're unsure of a brand, I would always take a screenshot to show where it says the date, because people will try to change things on you. You need to make sure your brand that you're ordering from is also not going to your junk folder. So if you didn't get the confirmation email, I would contact the brand just to make sure, because you need to be able to know what is going on with your purchase. 2, if they aren't shipped by the amount of time stated and you've contacted them, they can't just change it on you. If you decide that you want a refund, they have to give you a refund. They cannot give you any excuses or run around and be like, well, we had a hurricane. No, If they didn't ship within 30 days or by the date that they stated and you agreed to, and what I mean by you agreed to, whenever you place the order, if it states a date, that's what you're agreeing to. If it doesn't state a date, it is 30 days. Again, these are important for you to know. Another thing a lot of people don't realize is, because I've seen it on a lot of small business websites where they're like, we're not responsible for lost or stolen shipments. That is completely wrong. As a consumer, you are not responsible for the package until it becomes in your possession. The brand, if for some reason they say that they ship something and it doesn't arrive to you, and it doesn't show delivery on the tracking information, they are responsible. If you have to file a PayPal claim, they will always side with the customer if it doesn't show delivery. Let me make that clear. And also, if your items come in damaged and you talk to the brand and they don't want to do anything about it, again, you can file a PayPal claim, you can file a chargeback with your credit card company, but make sure you keep records and take photos and things like that, because again, the evidence always outweighs, like he with the most information typically wins. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, I'm not talking about pricing or anything like that, because that's null and void. If you buy something and you're not happy with the pricing, again, that's on you. But they do have to ship and make sure that they take care of things. And a lot of people don't realize those things. It's like, I've had a lot of brands, and I have talked about it, that I've had issues with and have been able to take care of getting my money back. And what that means is, whenever, like, I had a brand that kept changing the date and they were like, oh, we've had delays. Whenever we talked about filing a claim, oh, magically it has shipped and gotten in a timely manner. And they were like, oh, well, the post office lost the packages. Guess what? If the post office loses the packages, it's not on the consumer, it's on you. It doesn't count towards that 30 days. Because people are like, well, if I create a label, that gives me more time. No, it doesn't. It does not, just so you know. And again, knowing these rules is so, so important for consumers, again, but also for brand owners. And for brand owners, customer service is key. I've also had issues where I placed an order, it shows that it shipped, and it was bouncing all over the place. Contacted the brand and they were like, well, you need to contact the shipper. Well, technically, no, they're responsible for that portion, but I did. And again, they didn't want to take care of what their portion was. They couldn't tell me when it was going to get to me. It had been lost for over 30 days. I had to file a PayPal claim. I won that claim because I had all the information of emailing the brand being like, hey, where is this? And they're like, no, you need to do this. That's not how it works. Understand, even if, hopefully I'm explaining this clearly, but understand, brands are ultimately responsible for making sure your product gets to you, period. And if it doesn't, so as a brand owner, you may not go and check tracking to make sure it's delivered. But if a consumer informs you that, hey, this package hasn't gotten to me, you are responsible for 1, reshipping if need be, 2, refunding if need be. Those are your rights. Like, these are things that you're supposed to do. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't have a brand. Let me repeat that. If you cannot reasonably take care of these aspects of your business, you should not run a business. That may sound like me being a butthead, but it is true. There are too many people who get overwhelmed. They're like, oh, I'm going to start a business and it's going to be great. And then they have no idea what they're doing. And again, just because you don't know what you're doing does not mean that falls on your customer. Remember to keep everything in writing as a customer. Like if there's any issues, make sure to take pictures, take screenshots, because if a brand decides to block you, and if for some reason you can't get things handled by getting a refund, like, or filing a claim like with PayPal or your credit card company or whoever you're using, then you need to report them to the FTC. Because, not the Better Business Bureau, because the Better Business Bureau is not a government agency, but you need to report them to the FTC. Because if they get enough complaints on people, they will investigate, and it is important. And that is the only way to stop brands from being able to scam people. Because I don't know if you've noticed, like, I get Instagram ads and I'll get them from these random companies and they'll all have the same product, but you're not sure if they actually sell it, because there are brands that are pretty much there to just steal your money. So knowing your rights, I think, is extremely important. So hopefully y'all find this information helpful. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I will definitely try to answer them or link you to the information so that way you know. But again, knowing your rights and knowing that a lot of this stuff that brands expect you to do, that isn't your responsibility. But yeah, hopefully you like this. I guess that's it. So we'll see y'all later. Bye.